Dear children, welcome back to the next video of quick revision of all possible questions from the chapter. Yes, our environment. Okay, so this chapter is very easy, but each and every sentence of this chapter is important. So let's go through it. What are the possible questions shall appear from this chapter? Let's start the chapter, our environment. Children, please have your textbook with you. And please highlight the portion which we discuss here. Okay. So now, first starts with ecosystem. This paragraph, it talks about the definition of ecosystem and the components of ecosystem. So definition, it's here. Like all organisms such as plants, animals, microorganisms and human beings as well as the physical surroundings interact with each other and maintain a balance in nature. So they talk about the interaction between the living components, plants, animals, microorganisms and human beings with the physical surroundings, that is the non-living components. So that interaction maintains a balance in nature, and that is called as the ecosystem. So all interacting organisms in an area together with the non-living constituents of the environment form an ecosystem. So this stands for the definition of ecosystem. And next three lines says about the components of ecosystem. The ecosystem consists of biotic components comprising living organisms and abiotic components comprising physical factors like temperature, rainfall, wind, soil, minerals, etc. You may get a chance, like there will be a question to give examples of physical factors or to identify the physical factors. So physical factors are the abiotic components. So what are the biotic components? The living part, and the non-living part or the physical factors are the abiotic components of the ecosystem. And in the next paragraph here, this last two lines are important. Here they talks about the natural and artificial ecosystem. Examples of natural ecosystem are forests, ponds and lakes. Gardens and crop fields are the examples of human-made or artificial ecosystem. So you'll get to write the examples or to identify. Okay. Now in this paragraph they talk about setting up an aquarium. So in an aquarium we always have an oxygen pump, an aerator. Also we need to clean it. Once in a while we have to clean the aquarium. So they compare the aquarium with the pond ecosystem. More or less it's same, but we don't have that cleaning process in the pond. We don't do that cleaning process in pond. And why? Because pond is always a self-sustainable ecosystem, sustaining ecosystem where the decomposers are naturally found. So they recycle the waste materials there. But in pond aquarium, that is human-made artificial ecosystem, that is not self-sustaining. So we need to interfere and clean it. Okay. So that's how the question from that part comes. See, like this. Why does it have to be cleaned once in a while? Do we have to clean ponds or lakes in the same manner? Why or why not? Actually, the concept there is the presence of decomposers, or the natural ecosystem act as the self-sustaining ecosystem. They sustain on its own. That self-sustenance is not found in the aquarium, in human-made ecosystems. Now the next paragraph, it talks about producers. Next paragraph talks about consumers, and the following one talks about the decomposers. So here producers, they give the definition of producers: organisms that can make organic compounds like sugar and starch from inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water, using the radiant energy of the sun in the presence of chlorophyll. Could you relate this? This is actually the definition of photosynthesis. So such organisms are called producers. Examples: green plants and bacteria. Do you remember in life processes, in the definition of autotrophs, we learned the same definition, almost the same definition and the same examples. All green plants and certain bacteria are producers. So autotrophs are producers. So they produce food by photosynthesis. Now next comes the consumers, the organisms which feed on those producers. So organisms depend on the producers either directly or indirectly for their sustenance. So the organisms which consume the food produced either directly from the producers or indirectly by feeding on other consumers are the consumers. Okay. Now these consumers can be classified as herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and parasites. So, you know the examples of herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and parasites. So, we need not go further into that. And coming followed by the decomposers. Now, let's talk about the decomposers. The microorganisms comprising bacteria and fungi break down the dead remains and waste products of organisms. These microorganisms are the decomposers as they break down the complex organic substances into simple inorganic substances that go into the soil and are used up once more by the plant. So look here, decomposers, they have given that complex organic matter into inorganic one, okay, simple inorganic, whereas the producers convert simple inorganic into complex organic with the help of sunlight, chlorophyll, etc. Fine. This you have to remember because in MCQs you'll get questions like this, but you may get confused between this organic and inorganic. So organic to inorganic by decomposers, inorganic to organic by the producers. Keep that in your mind. And here they say that it goes into the soil and are used up once more by the plant. So this is called as a replenishment. So how do the decomposers replenish? Will the natural replenishment of the soil take place even if the decomposers are not there? No, it will not happen if the decomposers are not there. What will happen to the garbage and dead animals and plants in their absence? So what will happen in their absence? All the garbage and the dead animals and plants and all the waste materials will be piled up. That's what's going to happen in the absence of the decomposers. So if the decomposers are not there, natural replenishment will not take place. Now coming to this one, here in one of the sample paper, this question has been asked. Okay, so the question is like this: write the aquatic organisms in the order of who eats whom and form a chain of at least 3 steps. That is an ecosystem in aquatic organism. That's what they were. So this is a basic ecosystem like phytoplankton eaten by zooplankton, eaten by a small fish, eaten by a big fish. Okay, so phytoplanktons and zooplanktons would be a new term to you. Phytoplanktons are nothing but small plant-like organisms and zooplanktons are small animal-like organisms. Fine, they are found in water, like aquatic organisms. Very minute, microscopic plant-like, microscopic animal-like organisms are called as phytoplanktons and zooplanktons. Next, let's come to the food chain and food web. So this first 3 lines, they talk about what a food chain is, okay? A series of organisms feeding on one another. This series of organisms taking part at various biotic level form a food chain. So biotic components, see, these are biotic levels. This is one level, this is the next level, this is the next level. So these are all biotic levels, okay? And this forms a food chain. Now, next one is about trophic levels. So you can get MCQs from this part. So trophic level means each biotic level is called as trophic level. So this is the first trophic level, this is the second trophic level, this is the third trophic level. So it goes on like that. In this food chain, you just see is first, second, third, fourth, and fifth trophic level. Here 1, 2, 3, and 4 trophic levels. So each step or level of the food chain forms a trophic level. Autotrophs, always producers forms the base of or the first trophic level of an ecosystem or a food chain. They fix up the solar energy. Only they can fix up solar energy. So the producers forms the first trophic level always and make it available for the heterotrophs or consumers. The herbivores, the one that feed directly on the plants are the herbivores. They always form the second level of biotic level or second trophic levels. So the herbivores or the primary consumers comes at the second. Small carnivores are the secondary consumers at the third. Large carnivores or tertiary consumers form the fourth trophic level. Now we know that the food which we eat acts as a fuel. So this part comes under MCQs, remember. Now these are all possible MCQ questions or assertion reasoning questions. Food which we eat acts as a fuel for us to do the work. And now in all these trophic level, what you see is the flow of energy from one component of the system to the other. So this is an ecosystem. In this ecosystem, from one component to the other, energy is flowing. As we have studied, autotrophs capture the sun's energy. and convert it into chemical energy. So they photosynthesize and they produce stars. So light energy is converted into chemical energy, and that chemical energy is used up by them. So obviously these producers use the energy, right? They use for their physiological activities, like they do respire, they reproduce, they grow. For all those purposes they require energy, so they use a part of that energy. This energy supports all the activities of the living world. From autotrophs, energy goes to the heterotrophs and decomposes. So energy which they have, or the chemical energy which they produce, is transferred to the next level. Not completely, remember, not completely the energy is transferred. A part of the energy is used by them. What is left behind is transferred to the next trophic level. So when one form of energy is changed to another, some energy is lost to the environment in forms which cannot be used again. So a part of that energy which they have is used up by them and it is lost. Then the flow of energy between various components of the environment has been extensively studied. See what I have marked in green line, from this till this talks about the 10% law. And don't get scared. You need not learn the whole thing by heart. You have to understand that one form of energy is transferred to other and a small amount of energy is lost. It comes like this. Green plants in a terrestrial ecosystem capture about 1% of the sunlight. So sun's energy is available on the whole, but plants capture only 1% of that energy and convert it into food energy. Okay. The green plants in a terrestrial ecosystem capture about 1% of the sunlight, 1% of the energy of the sunlight that falls on their leaves and convert it into food energy. Now, this energy, that is this food energy, is lost as heat to the environment. That is, the plants use it up. Some amount goes into digestion, doing work, and rest goes down towards the growth and reproduction. So on an average, only 10% of the food eaten is turned into its body. For example, if a plant is getting 100% of food, out of that 90% of that it is used up by the plant. So only rest of 10% is available in the plant's body. Now that plant is eaten by a herbivore. So only this 10% is only available for that herbivore. Okay. Now this 10% is taken by the herbivore and it is used up by its body, and 10% of this 10% only will be available in their body. So likewise, when it passes on to the next trophic level, only 10% of energy available in one's body is made available to the next organism. So that's what we call as a 10% law. In that case, 10% can be taken as the average value for the amount of organic matter that is present at each step and reaches the next level. Since so little energy is available for the next level of consumers, food chains are generally consist of only 3 or 4 steps. That's why we say that the food chains, very small, very less number of trophic levels. Here in this food chain they have shown 5. Nowhere it goes more than that. So the number of trophic levels in a food chain is less because the energy available to the next generation or next trophic level will be very less. So in that case, the topmost organisms in this food chain will be having very less amount of energy, so that nothing can be transferred to the next one. So there ends the food chain. Okay. So this can be another question. The number of trophic levels are limited. Why? Why there are only few number of trophic levels? The reason is this. Very little energy is available for the next level of the consumers. There are greatly a number of individuals at the lower trophic levels. Always there will be many number of organisms in the lower trophic level. The greatest number is of the producers. See, look, when you look at the diagram, you can see that it's in the form of a pyramid. Okay. So there are different types of ecological pyramid. We call this as ecological pyramid, this figure. There are different kinds of ecological pyramid, but what you learn here is only the upright pyramid. The pyramid is upright, not inverted. Fine. So you learn the upright pyramid. So here in the case of biomass or number, you can always consider it as an upright pyramid. Number of producers are more compared to the primary consumers. Number of primary consumers are more compared to the secondary one. So secondary is more than the tertiary. So the tertiary consumer, the number is least, and producers, the number is the most. Okay. Now, here in this paragraph, they talk about the relation between or the significance of food web. Look at here. The length and complexity of food chains vary greatly. Each organism is generally eaten by two or more other kinds of organisms. See, look at this figure. In this, this plant can be eaten by any other insects, can be eaten by rat or by rabbit or by any other herbivore. So one level can be eaten by many organisms. Fine. Now, so instead of a straight line food chain, the relationship can be shown as a series of branching lines called a food web. So here you can see it is an interconnected food chain. That interconnected food chain is called as food web. Why the interconnected food web is more significant than food chain? Because if an organism is relying on only in this one food chain, if there are any disruptions or disturbances in this food chain, all the other organisms will be affected. In that case, if there is an alternate food chain, the ecosystem can be balanced to an extent. So always food web is significant than a food chain. Okay, because food chain is a straight line, whereas food web are a series of branching lines. Clear? Now here in this 10% law, nowhere the question will be asked as 10% law, stay 10% law. You'll always get in the way of problems, questions, where they give a certain amount of energy available to a trophic level, and they'll be asking you for the energy level in the next trophic level or the preceding trophic level. Okay, so for example, if trophic level A, B, C are there, like grass, rabbit and fox or something like that, trophic level 1, 2 and 3, here for example, if it is 10% energy available, then how many 100% or 1000 joule is available in the case of plants. So what will be the energy available for the second trophic level? It is 10% of this. So I can give you an easy way to remember when the question comes from this to this, like towards your right hand side, it will be reduced. That is, for example, if 1000 joule is available in the first level, next level it will be 100 joules, next level it will be 10 joules, next level it will be 1 joules, next level it will be 0.1 joules. Likewise, it will be reduced towards your right hand side. If the question is given like this, for example, in trophic level C, they have given us 10 joules. It goes increasing towards if you are moving towards your left hand side, reverse order, it will be increasing. Like if in C it is 10 joule, in B it will be 100 joules, and in A it will be 1000 joules. You understand? So that is the easy way of remembering. Towards your right hand side, it increases in the order in the multiples of 10, and towards your left hand side, it decreases in the multiples of 10. Mostly you'll be getting this question for 1 mark, either in split up or in objectives. Fine. Now this question is important. The flow of energy is unidirectional. Unidirectional means you can see that always the flow of energy goes from, so if it is producers, always the flow of energy is unidirectional. That is, imagine producers here, herbivores are primary consumers, then secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. Imagine a food chain of this kind. So producers get energy from sunlight, they convert it into chemical energy, and that is eaten by primary consumers. Do you ever see that these primary consumers are eaten by producers and the energy from this primary consumers going back to producers? No, it will not happen. So always energy flow is from producer to primary, then primary to secondary, secondary to tertiary. It always goes like this. It will never come back. So This is unidirectional. The energy that is captured by the autotrophs does not revert back to the solar input. So there is no way that the producers release the energy back in the form of solar energy. No. So as it moves progressively towards the higher levels of the trophic levels, it is no longer available to the previous level. Secondly, the energy available at each trophic level gets diminished. That's what we have discussed in the 10% law. Progressively due to loss at each energy level. Now, another interesting aspect of food chain is that, see, there are many harmful substances in the environment released due to pollution, and those harmful substances will get into the food chain. So, how do the harmful chemicals enter the food chain? One of the examples they've quoted here is about the pesticides and other chemicals which we use in agriculture, and those chemicals are washed down to the soil or into the water bodies, and it is used by the plants or the aquatic organisms. So in that way they enter the food chain. So then what happens to these chemicals once they enter the food chain? Once they enter the food chain, they will get accumulated. So that is very important. They get accumulated. They are not digested. It remains. That is, again I write the food chain here: producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. So imagine these producers have taken the chemicals. So chemicals are found in this. So this primary consumers, imagine primary consumers are eating many producers. So more quantity of chemical gets accumulated in their body. And when this many number of primary consumers are eaten by the secondary consumers, all these are getting accumulated in their body, right? And then again all these are getting accumulated in the body of tertiary consumers. So it gets accumulated. It gets accumulated in the body. As human beings occupy the top level in any food chain, the maximum concentration of these chemicals get accumulated in the body. So mostly we are at the top of the ecosystem, top trophic levels of the ecosystem. So in that case, we will get the maximum concentration of these chemicals accumulated. It gets accumulated. So this phenomena is called as the biological magnification. Children, don't expect the term biological magnification be asked in the question. They will never ask. They will be talking only about the accumulation of chemicals, and then they will ask you the reason why it is happening so, or what that phenomenon is called, and explain on it. So only that kind of questions you will be getting. Okay, so you should always understand that if they talk something about the accumulation of chemicals in a food chain or in trophic levels, it's all about biological magnification. Then there is another possible question like, which diet is better? This kind of question is possible in MCQs or in assertion reasoning. Which kind of diet is better, vegetarian or non-vegetarian, on this regard? Okay, in this regard, if we think the vegetarian diet is better, because the primary consumers will get less accumulation of the non-biodegradable or chemical things. So when we go to the second, if we are the secondary consumers eating the primary consumers, then the accumulation will be more. Or if we are the tertiary consumers eating the secondary consumers, again the accumulation will be higher. So in that regard, we are better to be the primary consumers feeding directly the producers. So the accumulation of, or the biological magnification, will be less in our body. Clear? Now coming to this ozone part. Ozone, each and every line is important, each and every sentence is important. First, you should know what ozone is. O3 stands for ozone and O2 for oxygen. Okay, and then they have given a statement here that ozone is a deadly poison, yet it is significant. Why? Because it protects the earth from ultraviolet radiations. Now, what are the problems of ultraviolet radiations? It causes skin cancer and it's highly damaging to the organisms. Now, how is ozone formed? Formation of ozone. It's quite important, children. You can see here, oxygen O2, in the presence of UV, it has been split into two atoms of oxygen, and one atom of O combines with oxygen molecule O2 and it forms O3. Okay, so this, remember this equation so that you can elaborate on this. Clear? This is very, very important. And from this paragraph, what are the causes of ozone depletion can be asked. That is, synthetic use of synthetic chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs, which are used in refrigerants, fire extinguishers. Then what program has been launched to stop it or to prevent it? 1987 United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. So this abbreviation is usually asked. Succeeded in forging an agreement to freeze CFC production at 1986 levels, and it is now mandatory for all manufacturing companies to make CFC free refrigerators throughout the world. So UNEP, what is the program? UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. Okay. Now about this garbage, when it comes to garbage, the possible question is they'll be asking you they'll be giving you a relevant situation and ask you to generalize about it, about the degradable and non-biodegradable waste, and differentiation between biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste can be asked. That can be a question. Then coming to this part, here, why are this plastic non-biodegradable? Because see, biodegradable means it is done by the microorganisms, right? Microorganisms decompose it. How do the microorganisms decompose it? They produce certain enzymes which can break these complex materials into simple substances. What happens if they don't have enzymes to break it? Yes, that's what happens in the case of plastics. Plastic-like things. These bacteria or the microorganisms do not have enzymes to break those non-biodegradable things. And hence it becomes non-biodegradable because there is nothing to break them. So they remain in the soil for years together. For quite a long time, they remain in the soil and they cause pollution. Clear? That's what they talk here. Fine. These saprophytes do not have enzymes. Enzymes are always specific in their action. Certain enzymes are meant for only that action. See, in the case of in digestion chapter, you have learned like amylase is meant for breaking carbohydrates. Lipase is meant for breaking fat. Protease is or protein, pepsin, trypsin, like kind of things is meant for breaking proteins. Okay, so enzymes are always specific in their action. Then general questions you'll get. See, look at this question. Give any two ways in which biodegradable substance would affect the environment. So biodegradable substance would not have negative impact. They will be positively affecting it. So they enhance the soil fertility. Inorganic substances are replaced, that is, they replace it, replenishing. You remember? Replenishing. That is, plants produce food are eaten by consumers, produce secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and all these organisms will die. When they die and fall into the soil, these decomposers will act on it, will break those complex substances in our body or in their body into simpler ones and then fix it in the soil. This inorganic substances are taken by the plants again, used by the plants again. So that's what we call as a biogeochemical cycle. And what happens if non-biodegradable substances are accumulated or piled up? It pollutes the environment, it disturbs the ecosystem, it increases biological magnification, affects the decomposers. So quite a lot of points you can write. Okay. And coming to this part, Kards. Use of Kards. So here they are talking about the usage of disposable cups in trains, right? So one time there were plastic glasses which had to be returned to the vendor. So there were debates on the matter of hygiene, and so based on that regard, people started using disposable glasses. When these million of people dispose glasses, it has become a huge pile of waste. Then they slowly shifted to Kards, that is the disposable cups made of clay. Though it is environment friendly, they stopped it. Why? Why did they stop it? That can be a question. Because when they started making this Kards, a little thought showed up that making these Kards on the large scale would result in the loss of fertile topsoil, again degradation. So now they started using disposable paper cups. So what do you think are the advantages of disposable paper cups over disposable plastic cups? Paper cups are mostly degradable, but we must think over it. Are the paper cups which we use are degradable? Yeah, it's a matter to debate. Fine. So these are the important questions we talk here. I hope, see what will happen if we kill all the organisms in one trophic level. Yeah, this is mostly asked question. They won't be asking generally like this. They'll give you a situation and saying that if we, in a food chain, if we kill the tiger, what will happen to the other ones? Or if all the deer in a food chain is being eradicated, what will happen? Yes, if one organism is eradicated, for example, in a food chain carrying grass, deer, and a lion, if there is no grass, the deer will be suffering, they'll be starving. If there is no deer, lion will not have food. Okay, and imagine if there is no deer, the grass will be flourishing, more grass, no food for lion, and other organisms will be improving, right? Will be growing up. No food for lion. And if lion is eliminated, deer population will be very high, grass population will be degrading, because that many number of the population of deer is increasing and there will be competition. So each of the trophic level or each member of the ecosystem are important. The next question, look at the next question. Will the impact of removing all the organisms in a trophic level be different for different trophic levels? See, we said that if lion is eradicated, what will be the effect? If deer is eradicated, what will be the effect? If grass is eradicated, what will be the effect? If you think over it, each impact is different, right? So it is not same. It will be different for different trophic levels. Clear? Can the organisms of any trophic level be removed without causing any damage to the ecosystem? Yeah, if we think we could, because if there is a food web, we can think over it. Like if that food for an organism is being replaced by something else, yes, to an extent. Okay. Yeah, children, we have discussed all the possible questions in this chapter. Hope that's clear. Go through the questions. Remember, once again, this is not the time to learn anything new. Revise well. Any doubts, you can mention in the comment. Thank you all. We'll meet you soon with the next video.